Different sort of video this week. No DM advice or crafting vids. But what I want to talk about is why I stopped watching Critical Role and why I started again. And I loved season 1. I'm a pretty OG as far as critters are concerned. I started watching live during the Briarwood arc. I stayed up past midnight for Thordak, and I was incredibly moved at the Vecna finale. And when season 2 started, I was cautiously optimistic. I had known that it was going to be different, and so I had already braced myself for that idea that things were going to change. And watching the first episode, I was delighted. I immediately fell in love with Knot and Jester and Ford, and I was really excited about what the show was going to be, what direction they were going to take it. But after the first couple episodes, I kind of stopped watching. And this really hurt. I couldn't figure out why I had fallen out of love with something that had been such a big part of my life. Like a lot of you, I got back into D&D because of Critical Role. It took me a few tries to really get into it. There is kind of a high barrier, but I fell so in love with what I was seeing. So what changed? This really bothered me. I wanted to understand why I couldn't watch it anymore, why I didn't care what was going on. And it took me a while to figure it out. Because this certainly wasn't a technical aspect. The production value just keeps going up and up. Matt's skill as a DM keeps increasing too. And maybe it was something with the characters then. In the first season, the characters were all archetypes. We had the holy cleric, we had the edgy rogue, the dumb barbarian, the naive druid. But what made it special was how far and deep they could pull those characters, how much depth they could get out of those archetypes. And the second season, all the characters, they're strange classes and races for the most part, not your typical fantasy adventuring group. With the first season, it took a long time for these, darker, more suppressed elements of these characters' history to come out.
What's my mother's name?
But in season 2, it's darker right from the start. Because the second season, the characters have a lot more baggage attached, right? Like it all comes out in the first 5 episodes. Maybe the cast was aware of the depth that the last season had, and we're trying to put it on a little too much in this season. The last one, the emotional moments felt earned. Like between Travis as Grog and Vax versus this season between Ford and Caleb. One had a deep emotional resonance and the other just sort of fell flat. And I think the reason why it fell flat, and this is the crux of the whole issue here, why I really stopped watching was I didn't care about the characters anymore. Not that they weren't cool or interesting or complex or deep, but I just wasn't interested in what happened to them. I didn't care. I think one of the reasons why I didn't care what happened to the characters is that the characters on the second season didn't really care about what happened to each other. They were all sort of antagonistic. There wasn't any real cohesion between them. But then something changed. Something happened and made me want to start watching again. Lorenzo. Molly's death was sort of the catalyst that brought about significant change. It made me interested in appealing it, not just for the inherent drama of somebody dying off. And I wanted to watch that. But what I think more of that, what happened when I kept watching afterwards, even the shopping episode, was now the group had a united front. They had a definite goal, a villain to go after, some high-stakes drama that everyone was invested in. It made the group more cohesive. They weren't just a random group of mercenaries who happened to be traveling together. They had real cohesion. They had a sense of unity. The characters started caring about each other again, and now I can care about them. And now that I'm reinvested in these characters and what's going to happen to their story, I'm watching the show again, and I'm enjoying it just as much as I was. And I can't wait to see what happens next. Because these characters have started to love each other, I can start to love the show. Yeah, so that's the video, folks. Like I said, a little bit different than the ones I normally put out, but you can follow me on Twitter at ZipperOnDisney, and as always, I want to know what you think. Bit controversial stuff, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Matt Mercer is probably the best thing to happen to the hobby in the past 40 years. Not since the Red Box has something come along that's been so influential and gotten more people involved in playing.